And one thing that I love about when you guys reached out over email, you guys used a word that our team loved. And you'll probably get a kick out of this. You guys talked about hijackers on Amazon. And your GS1 company, the GTINs you provide, can somehow assist with that. How? Michelle, thank you so much for being with us today. You represent GS1. And real quick, before anyone decides, hey, I'm not gonna watch this video, I want you to know that when you open an Amazon listing, one of the first things Amazon's gonna ask you is, what is your product identifier? If you don't have that number, or you get it from the wrong source, AKA not GS1, you're gonna run into some issues. So could you tell us, who is GS1 and what is a GTIN?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me today. To start off, GS1, we are a global standards organization, most known for the UPC barcode. So the barcode was born about 50 years ago, first scan in a grocery store. So most people know it for that little beep that goes across your checkout stand. That barcode has a number embedded in it, and that number is the GTIN, the Global Trade Item Number. So the GTIN is the number, the string of numbers. Think of it as like a license plate, a unique identifier for a product. A lot of people confuse it or use it interchangeably with the UPC, the EAN, or even barcode. So we even do it at GS1. We use them all interchangeably, but there are actually differences or nuances. So the GTIN is the number, like I said. A UPC is really referred to as a UPC barcode. So that's that number that's encoded into that barcode that a machine can read. But also the UPC carries a GTIN 12. So it's a 12-digit GTIN. And those are usually assigned to products, usually in the US market. Then the EAN, which is an EAN barcode, it also carries a GTIN 13. Those are usually assigned to products outside of the US in like a European market.
So when I open that Amazon listing, when I create it, Michelle, why would I go to GS1, the company you work for, to get a code? What's the reason that this is so critical?
So GS1, as a global organization, we are, again, globally recognized. And so we have member organizations around the world. I actually represent GS1 US. We also have member organizations in GS1 UK, GS1 Brazil, you name it. There's about 115 member organizations around the world. But GS1, we as a global organization, as a not-for-profit and member-driven, retail industry came together and said, this is the standard we want to use. We know it's globally recognized. We know when we assign a product, it is genuinely associated to that company. So we can trust that if Michelle came to GS1 and got a barcode for my pair of shoes that I just made, that I am the true owner of that product. We record all of that into our database of license holders for those identifiers, and retail industry and commerce platforms trust that that database is accurate and know that we are the source of those GTINs. So if you do happen to get your identifiers from a third party that is non-GS1, those are not recorded into the database. So there's no verification that that person who or that company that got the GTIN from a non-GS1 source is really the true brand owner. And so it adds a layer of trust. It allows for companies to know that they're protecting their own brand, that their identifiers are assigned to them to help with anti-counterfeit situations. So again, a company could come to GS1, look in our database and say, yes, that is the true company. And that database is available to anybody. It's out on our public website. We call it GPIR, or I call it GPIR. We have acronym library. It's GEPIR, but you could see it on our website. And Amazon, along with other major platforms, use that database to validate the GTINs.
Michelle, I know some Amazon sellers, and I started as one of these who went to eBay, and some of them go to places like easybarcodes.com, etc. I went to eBay, I found these GTINs or UPC codes, I bought them, I got a huge list. Like they ended up costing like cents per code, and they worked. What would you say to someone in that situation? Like, why would I go to GS1 and pay more money when I can find these for cheaper and they're working so far?
It's a business decision. Everybody has to make their own business decisions. Amazon has changed their policies. So we've seen since the last 2 years or so, Amazon's getting a little bit more stringent on their checks. The recommendation or the suggestion I would say is knowing that Amazon, as well as other retailers, are checking against the database, you may be putting yourself at risk. You could chance it and try, but if you are turned down and then they do say you have to come back to GS1, you face two issues. One, you have another cost So then you do have to relicense with GS1. We can't transfer from any third party. And then you may have labeled your product with those barcodes. And so then you may have some repackaging, relabeling. We've worked with a lot of members that have had to go through that very painful process, and it's very costly.
And a lot of sellers do not know this. They still will go to other sites to buy their barcodes, their UPCs, their EANs, their GTINs. Amazon has now created this process where they will do this sweep of all these product listings, and they will look at the UPC code, and if it doesn't match what's in your database, they suppress the listing. In other words, an Amazon buyer can no longer buy the product. And that doesn't just mean now I have to go back and possibly repackage, rebrand, and buy a new code like you mentioned. It also means all the work and the time and the money and the PPC costs spent in ranking that listing is gone. I'm literally starting with a brand new version listing with no history, and therefore I'm gonna end up spending a lot more money on PPC to get it ranking again.
And time.
Yes, exactly. And time is something you can't get a refund on. Once a second is gone and never get it back. Because one of the frustrations some of our students ran into, Michelle, to be totally transparent, is for a while there, if I wanted to buy UPC codes, I had to buy a minimum of 10. They were $25 a piece. It was $250 plus a $50 annual rental fee. And it just felt like, man, are we being nickel and dimed? And people would whine about that. And I know you guys pretty well by now. I know that's not your guys' intention, but there was a bit of pushback. Like I have to spend $250 plus another 50, so technically 300 that first year just to get 2 UPC codes. And all I want is 2. I don't want like this massive business. I just want to sell a few products on the side. I love my 9 to 5. You guys came out with a solution for this. Could you just speak to that a little bit?
And we started off with, because we worked with some of the big brands, so they were in large capacities, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. We started hearing from members saying we need less because we have a small business. So 10 years ago or so, we launched 10 capacity thinking that would service the small business community. And we heard that was still too large, to your point. So 2 years ago, we added in a new service offering, just single GTINs. They are at $30 each, a one-time fee, no annual renewal fee, like you said. And once you license that GTIN, you have the trust that it's actually a GS1 sourced. So it's in our database, we report it, and you can have it for life. So you don't have to pay any annual fees. And you could choose 1, 2, 4, however many you want to suit your business needs.
What's interesting about Amazon is, let's just say this freshwater candle is one of my products. On Amazon, I don't actually print the GTIN, the UPC, the EAN on here at all. I print the FNSKU label, which is a fulfillment network stock keeping unit unique to Amazon only, to sell it on Amazon. So when people hear barcodes, they're always thinking, well, there's these vertical bars of different widths and lengths, and they actually represent something back to the 1970s, and it needs to be scanned. But if Bobby McGee buys my product on Amazon, no one's scanning it. But what happens about the day, and this has happened with multiple of our students, where they want to start selling in brick and mortar stores? Now I want to sell this at Walmart, at Target, at Bed Bath & Beyond, at Home Depot. Well, this would probably not sell at Home Depot, but you get the idea.
Hey, they sell candles.
Do they really?
They do.
Okay, this is good to know. I've never gone to Home Depot to buy a candle, but this is good to know. Next time I'm going there to fix something for my house, my wife wants a candle, I'll do that. You guys offer something, Michelle, that allows them to move to brick and mortar, and it's really set up to scale.
Right, we always say start with the right foundation. Identify your product with a GTIN. You don't necessarily have to print a barcode on it for Amazon, to your point, because it doesn't really go through a point of sale scan like you see at most traditional brick and mortar retailers. However, if you do set up your business, you may want to consider actually marketing it with that barcode, because if your product takes off and then it's discovered by a Target or a Walmart or a Bed Bath & Beyond or a QVC, those businesses all require the GTIN on your product with that barcode. So it could be actually scanned.
And one thing that I love about when you guys reached out over email, you guys used a word that our team loved. And you'll probably get a kick out of this. You guys talked about hijackers on Amazon. Now, in our experience, no one knows what a hijacker is on Amazon unless you sell on Amazon, which we really appreciate that you guys know that. And your GS1 company, the GTINs you provide, can somehow assist with that. How?
What we have found sometimes is a company will come to GS1, get their identifiers from us, but then go try to list on Amazon, and they'll get an error message saying product already exists. There's a couple of different scenarios that may cause that, but one is a GTIN hijacker. So it is somebody who listed a product, they made up a number, got it somewhere, don't know how they got it, but it is maybe assigned to the original owner. And so that original owner, when they go to list, gets that listing error. And that's a GTIN hijacking. Being a member of GS1, you could then provide your GS1 company prefix certificate or your single GTIN certificate to Amazon. They will suppress the bad actor and allow you to list.
So just to be clear, Michelle, Bobby McGee's seller, he is a schemer. And so he comes up with his own GTIN, global trade item number, and he creates a listing, and it just so happens that number is the same as what Lucy Pickleberry later buys on GS1. Therefore, now she can control the listing, now he can control the listing, even though she went the right path. Am I understanding that correctly?
No, Lucy could take it over because she actually is the true owner of the GTIN. So GS1 says she's the owner, and when she brings the certificate to Amazon, it will then suppress the bad actor.
Even though he was there first.
Even though he was there first.
This is a situation where he's not protected by common law, because what he did was unfair. That is so fascinating. You know, the biggest thing for me, Michelle, is the fact that Amazon endorses GS1. I mean, they say on their site, they only recommend GS1. They only endorse GS1 for getting your GTINs, for getting your UPC codes, which I find incredibly credibility building. That alone should just be enough, in my opinion, for someone to decide to do it right. And again, I know some people are going to push back and say, yeah, Seth, but I found this barcode or this UPC for, 10 cents. Was that 10 cents worth it building your business on the wrong foundation that could later come back and bite you in the butt? And that leads me to one last question I wanted to ask you. When we're creating listings on Amazon, sometimes these error messages come up, and GTINs have a play in that. Elaborate on how having the right GTIN can help mitigate this problem.
There are 3 different ones that tend to come up quite often. The first 3, the GTIN, the UPC, and EAN. The GTIN is actually, they're expecting a 14 digit, really supposed to be associated to like a case or a carton. So an upper level packaging of your product. The UPC is really that single item that has a 12 digit identifier to it. So again, usually something that has been licensed out of the US market, usually. And then the EAN is that 13 digit identifier that's usually licensed somewhere
European
outside.
Article number. Mm-hmm.
The other one I already mentioned was the product already exists. And then the third one, usually it's when you come to GS1 and license your prefix, you have to put your company name. So say like I am licensing a new prefix or single GTIN. My company is Michelle's LLC. So that's my company name, but I might have different brands because I might sell Michelle's jazzy, sparkly shoes and, sparkly hats or whatever. I don't know. I'm not very creative. I'm not a product person, but I might have different brand names. So when you put in your brand name, you may get an error, and it's usually associated to your brand name. And a lot of people feel like they have to come back to GS1 and change their company name to their brand name. And it doesn't make sense because we want your prefix to be associated to your company. So basically you have to notify Amazon that these brands are associated to your company, whether there's a trademark or brand registry or different ways to prove that brand is associated to your company, and then that they'll help clear that error.
And we've run into this issue. What we do is we take, and for everyone listening, this can help you, we take a picture of the product, not a professional picture, not a Photoshop picture, like a really regular everyday picture. You're holding it. It's good if they can see your hand in the picture. Make sure the logo, even if you have to print it using acrylic or something, is on the product to prove this is my brand. And it almost seems silly because you could practically do that with any product in any brand, but they just want to know this is your brand. And to avoid any confusion, this is not brand registry we're talking about. We're simply saying Amazon giving you approval to sell products under this brand, which, as Michelle said, the brand is under a company, and that company could hold multiple brands under its LLC or C Corp, whatever company organization structure it is. Michelle, if someone wants to know the next step, they just started on Amazon, they want to open a listing, they need that product identifier, where do they go?
So in the US market, you could go to gs1us.org. Off of our website, we have a page that helps a company, especially if they're just starting off, to identify how many GTINs they may want. So one of the other things we do say is if you have product variations, each variation needs its own separate GTIN. So if you think you're selling water bottles, but you want to identify that purple water bottle and that pink pink water bottle and that green water bottle, and you have a 16 ounce and you have a 24 ounce water bottle. Each separate individual variation needs its own GTIN. In addition, at GS1 US, we provide you a free access to the Data Hub tool, which if you buy a prefix or license a prefix, that which has those capacities, we pre-construct all of your GTINs for you so you don't have to know the logic with how to actually construct that GTIN.
Michelle, thank you so much for being a guest on the Just One Dime channel. Everyone, I hope you guys got massive value out of this as you seek to build your business. If you liked this video, make sure you thumbs up it. And I have one question for everyone listening. Where are you currently going to get your UPC barcodes? Where are you going? Oh man, look at that. I just used UPC in the very generic way. Everyone calls them UPCs. That is so funny, yeah. Because it's like universal product code, primarily the US and Canada, right? And then you have EAN for Europe. So I find these topics fascinating. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Hopefully that helped everybody, break it down a little bit more, easier to understand.
This interview about GS1 UPC barcodes just barely scratched the surface of what you will experience within our online e-commerce school, Amazon FBA Mastery, where we help people from all over the world go from knowing nothing about e-commerce to becoming professional online sellers who are able to work on their business from anywhere. If you are dead set on quitting your 9-to-5 to start building your own freedom, where there's no cap on how much you can make, one of our team members will meet with you over the phone or video chat to figure out how we can help you reach your long-term goals. Now, just keep in mind, this Amazon e-commerce school will show you exactly how to build your own freedom business from scratch. If you're just starting out or you want to set up your company, open your seller account, or create your brand name or get your brand registered or find the right products or run PPC, we teach all of this in detail and we update it every single week. One example, you will learn over 8 different methods for finding products, how to build and ship your products, how to effectively launch your next product on Amazon. And if you're already an established seller, we teach you how to leverage almost every type of Amazon deal, how to expand your brand off of Amazon, like on Walmart or Shopify. And finally, how to prepare your business for an exit. If you'd like to meet with one of our team members to find out how we can help you, just click the link in the pinned comment below or go here, JOD.com/freedom. If this is something you've been thinking about for a while, let's not wait, let's get started. Because guess what? Every day you lose another 24 hours, you will never get them back. We will show you how to do it, and the rest is up to you. JOD.com/freedom.